Hey everybody, I'm gonna try this again. I tried to put this video out the other day, but my uh, internet wasn't working right, so I basically talked for a long time for nothing. So I don't know if this is going to go through this time, so I hope it does. Maybe my internet connection's a little bit better. I'm going to kind of preface this video by saying that in no way, shape, form, or fashion am I an expert at any of this stuff. Or am I trying to change anybody's opinion or anything like that? That part's irrelevant to me, but and I'm going to say that for most people can probably say that they can probably quote the Bible and things like that better than me. So I'm not even going to try to go into that, but I just had a couple things on my mind that I wanted to say and just kind of talk about it. I mean, you can see by what I tagged this video in, and that said a couple recent topics. It's June, it's Pride Month. It's you're seeing a lot of rainbow flags and stuff like that. So the conversation always comes up about this time of year with religion and the gay community and things like that. But there's a couple other topics that's kind of been in the news recently, and one of them where a guy in Tennessee had said that basically if somebody of the LGBTQ plus community, if they're ever, they should be arrested, tried, and if they're convicted, to be executed. So first of all, if you have that belief system, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't think that that's okay for any human being to be told that, just because of who you are, you deserve to be killed. Okay. I don't even want to speak to that too much because I don't know what else needs to be said. But the other part is, in a local community here in Kentucky, they had a pride panel at a local library. And, there was a lot of outrage that come out of that, which, of course, that's stuff like that always kind of happens. But one of the things that kind of pointed out to me is that, I want to say this, that I will always honor and respect someone's educated opinion. That will never be a problem for me. And I will never try to change somebody's belief system. That's your given right to have that. And a lot of things kind of come up about being treated as human beings. And in the first one, in the first example, the guy that said that people need to be killed, my fear when people speak to that is that the people that are listening start to view those people as being, and whatever those people are, as being subhuman. And then that's when we see attacks go up. That's when we see people start to basically behave in a way that they wish to because they feel like they have permission to do so, because now this person is less than, according to whoever's saying it. And that's a big fear component. But in the second one, the lady in the video at the library, she said a couple things that, she has her belief systems. Again, not trying to change her belief systems. But, when first thing that she said was, the political message. And I don't think that, and I get it, taxes and pay for things like that. But, I think a group of people that just want to come in and talk and to an audience that chooses to attend, I don't think that that's trying to make a political statement. And then you get into the religious conversations about, people that are lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer questioning and all of the rest of the letters. And all of that stuff kind of comes up around this time of the month. And so anyway, I just wanted to kind of say this. This is my belief in it, okay? One of the things that I always tell people is this, that there's three things that I love more than anything in this world. And the very first thing is God. Yes, I said that. I am gay, and I love God. And people don't have to agree with that, and, totally fine. I have no problems with that. The second thing I love more than anything is my family, and then the third thing is my country. In that order. Those are my three things that I live for on this world. So I wanted to share just a little bit about my story and maybe, just maybe, try to give a little bit of insight. So, for me, growing up, I always knew that something was different about me. And for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. And, hearing the conversations around me, a lot of times I was, I was told that the way that I was feeling and the way that I was thinking was wrong, even though I didn't know what it was. And I'm talking about young. This is early on. So, what that kind of started for me is that I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I fit in with. I found myself hanging around more of my female family members and hanging out with them and not being so much at the guys. But then, I thought, well, I'm not manly and, all this other stuff. And it went on just a little bit, when of course, adolescence happens and, how crazy that is. But I really found myself really knowing that something was different and hearing things. And of course, back then, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have, the Trevor Project. We didn't have any of the It Gets Better stuff like that. So I really didn't know what was going on. I didn't know that anybody else felt the way that I felt. And so, as I'm growing up and all those things, one of the big things that started happening for me is when I was going to church. Because, anytime that I needed something, I could rely on that. I could rely on God. I could rely on my faith and stuff like that. And, people kept saying that, people that are gay, people that are whatever are going to hell. And I mean, that scared the crap out of me. And so I would, during my teenage years, I would lay awake at night for hours and hours and hours. And I would cry and I would cry and I would cry and I would beg God to change me. And I would say, God, I do not want to disappoint you. I do not want these things to happen. That the things that these people are telling me is going to happen to me, I do not want that to happen. Please don't let this happen to me. Change me, stop it. And I'm going to tell you guys, you can say choice, you can say whatever, but listen, if this was a light switch, I would have shut this thing off a long time ago, because I have no desire to live a life of being criticized, judged, ridiculed, put down, all of that other stuff. I have no desire for it. I'm not much of a conflict person, so I would have switched this light off a long time ago. And I would pray to God, and people can say, well, if you do this or if you do that, then that'll do it. And I did all those things. I took away a lot of stuff that, adolescent boys do out of my life, and I try to stop the thinking. I try to stop the thoughts, and, I dive more into my Bible. I dive more into all this other stuff, and it just kept happening, and it just kept being told, and nothing changed. So then one night, as I was sitting there, I was mad. I was mad at God, and I was pissed off at him because he didn't take this away from me like everybody else had said that this was going to happen. But anyway, so I'm kind of a loudmouth sometimes, so I just called him out and I said, God, I'm going to tell you this: if you don't take this from me, I would rather to take my own life than I had to die and to disappoint you. And I had pretty much made a decision that I was going to end my life if he wasn't. Now, I didn't attempt it. I didn't do anything like that. But, that's where I was in my point, because I felt like I didn't have any friends. I couldn't connect to people. Everybody's telling me this and that. And, I'm confused in my own head. I didn't know what to do. So I just said, you know what, rather than to deal with this, if you're not going to change me, by God, I'll just end it and be done with it. But I'm going to tell you this, and people can say what they want to, and I'm never going to expect you to believe me, and I don't really care if you do believe me. But it was in that moment that I got this overwhelming sense of peace that just came and washed over me. And the message that I got, and I can't describe, if you could just describe that your windows are up and this cool breeze just blew through, and that's what happened. And in that very moment, it was like I was told, you're going to be okay. I love you. And it's been since that night. Now, I've questioned a whole lot of things since then, but in that moment, I have never once felt, shamed by God or anything. And people are going to disagree with that, and that's fine. If I'm wrong, then I will know on the day of my death, whenever I go to the pearly gates and somebody says you can either come in or no, you're gone, that's when I'll find out. But for now, I'm just going to assume that I'm right, because, I've never received any kind of thing other than that since then. But the other part of it is not only the religious side, but then you got the human side. So I was still struggling dealing with how to engage with people. I lived in a very, very small town, so, those things happen. And I still didn't know anybody, still didn't know what was going on with me or with myself. But, as I started to get older, and listen, guys, I'm not perfect. I have made plenty of mistakes. I've probably hurt a lot of people in my life, and, I own up to that. But, but to stay focused on this part is that when I started, one of the things that I did, I joined the military. Joined the military at 17 for a couple of reasons. One, it's been in my family for years. A lot of people served in the military in my family. I love and respect them. And one of the people that I honor and respect was also in the military in my family. But then there's a double-sided coin. I was worried that if he ever found this out about me, then he was going to be disappointed, and that's the last thing that I ever wanted to do. But I joined the military because I wanted to serve my country. I love serving my country. If don't ask, don't tell was still a policy today and I was 17, I'd do it again. I would join it again. I have no problems with that. But I seen somebody started watching it. I got to say this about Pat. She was one of the first people that I ever told about this, and I was scared to death. And Pat, why'd you have to get on? But I love seeing you on there because she knows how scared I was when I told her this. But anyway, but the other part of joining the military, I thought, okay, I'm going to join this unit, and it was an all-male unit, and that's going to toughen me up, and that's going to make a man out of me, and that's going to remove all of these thoughts away from me. That's going to take away every bit of this, and I won't be gay anymore. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. But that didn't happen. But don't ask, don't tell was still a policy. And, I couldn't tell nobody and nobody could tell. And I'll give you an example. There was a time, and if he ever watches this, he'll know who he is. I still regret this to this day. That I was with one of my friends who I found out was gay. And we were talking, hanging out. And a couple guys that was in my military unit had walked by. And I told him in that moment, I said, these guys are in my unit. I said, you have got to act straight. And he and I laughed about this for a long time, but his reaction, he went just like this. He stood straight up, he curled his lips in because he knew that if he said anything, that would give it away. We laughed about that a lot, but I tell you what, the thing that I've reflected on in this time is I took who he was away from him. I took his voice away from him. I'll never forgive myself for that, but I will say this, that I learned a lesson that day about who you are, and I didn't get it till years later, but that part right there, about got me, is when, because of my own shame, because of my own fears, I took somebody else's voice away from them. But anyway, so obviously, if you can see the pride flag over my profile pic, the military didn't change me. And, I was always scared that people were going to find out, because if they did, I'd get kicked out, and that's the last thing that I wanted. But I found out later, one of the surprises is sometimes we'll make up stuff in our own mind. People would kind of joke and comment in a joking way and stuff, but I thought it was always them teasing me. But I found out later that some of them were like, man, we knew, we just wanted to let you know we were here for you. And I wish I knew that then, right? But I was glad that I found it out. But that's the big point of my story, is that, that my belief system is God, did not take this away from me when I asked him. He let me know that it was okay, and I'll never believe for a minute that I'm going to go to hell for this. You could probably find some other things in my life that'll get me there, but hopefully he'll forgive me for those. But it's not going to be that, and that's okay. And it's a struggle, and I know that people have a difference. One of the things, this is the best way I can explain this to you. I do not expect you to accept this. I do not expect you to accept people that are different than you. That is your right. Even that the lady in that library video was talking about some of this other stuff, and people were agreeing with her, and nobody is trying to shove anything in your face. Nobody is trying to shove anything down your throat and make you believe a different way. But what I do, this is my belief, is that I don't expect you to accept it. But if you have meaning and value in my life, if you're a part of that inner circle, then I do expect you to tolerate it. And if you can't tolerate it, then just move on with your life. I mean, it's no big deal to me. My skin has gotten pretty thick in my 36 years, you know. It's pretty callous when it comes to stuff like that. And that's okay. I can still love you. You know, I can give you some experiences of people that have had yeah, I've been told that, you know, that they hope that I die of AIDS. I've been told that, of course, I'm going to hell. And, you know, one of the big things that I think of with people, so, yeah, by me removing somebody from my life, that's not going to hurt me. I got over that. I can't say that I've ever been really, truly bullied, but I've had some pretty bad experiences. And I think tolerance goes a long way with this. You know, besides having those underhanded comments and things like that, you know, the things that hurt the worst is when you know, I'm with the person that I'm with, and, you know, somebody looks at you and says that, you know, well, God, man, I don't agree with that, or you're going to hell. You know, I just wonder how you would feel if you were with your partner, if your spouse, and you told somebody, like, hey, I'm dating this girl or this guy, and somebody looked at you with an awful face and goes, ugh, you know? How would you feel about that? And if it's not okay for somebody to do that to you, I'm sure you would be defensive. Don't do that to somebody else. Don't do it to somebody else. That's what tolerance is about. You don't have to accept it, but sometimes the thought in your head does not have to come out. That's it. You're not going to do me any favors by preaching to me. You're not going to change that. God did not change that. You is sure is not going to. You're not going to change that for other people as well. The big thing about the library video, this is the thing that I cannot accept and I can't tolerate it, is I am sick to death of being placed in the same category as the KKK and pedophiles. That is something, I'm over it. You do not put me in the same category as those individuals. The LGBTQ plus community is not a hate group, nor are we somebody that is damaging and destroying people's lives. That is completely separate. I have had people in my life, because they had children and they found out that I was gay, they did not want me to be around those kids. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. That is one of those ignorant things. And ignorant just means uneducated. And if you're watching this now, you're educated. You can't play the ignorant card anymore. That has nothing to do with it. So, I just... don't let that stuff happen. We are not those people. We are human beings, right? And that's a big thing. So anyway, I'm kind of losing track on that. If y'all know me, I ramble. Now, one of the things that I'll say, she talked about the gay agenda. I have heard the gay agenda so many times. I just don't even know what to think about the gay agenda. Well, one of the things, I'll say this, and this is kind of an inside joke, but one of our gay agenda things is Taco Tuesdays. That's really what the gay agenda is all about, is having Taco Tuesdays. If you're in my small group, you know what I'm talking about. But really, here's the thing. Here's what the gay agenda is about. I think that everybody in this world, our biggest goal is to strive for happiness. I think that every one of us want to go through a life and reach a point to where we can actually say that we're happy. And part of that we got when the Don't Ask, Don't Tell got took out, and when marriage became legal, that happened. But that's not all of it. And people say, I hear a lot of times people say, if you know you can marry now, y'all need to shut up. No. Listen, if you look at women's rights, go back to the 40s. They're still battling, equality in the workplace and equality at home and stuff like that. If you go back to civil rights, and the big part of it in the 60s, we're still battling those things. So I don't expect that with a couple minor little changes that things are going to improve. I mean, there's still a lot to be done. You may or may not know this, but my employer could watch this right now and fire me. And there's not a thing I could do about it. Yeah, I'd probably get my unemployment because I didn't violate a company policy or something. But as far as having a discrimination suit, no. The LGBT is not a protected class. We can't really sue for discrimination in all places. So, that's beside the point, because I don't know all the little laws and stuff like that. But, it's a risk that people take. The other part, and this is the biggest part, this is the most important part to me, is we're not trying to tell people to turn gay. We're not. We're not trying to make straight people gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. But what we are trying to do is, for those of us who didn't have YouTube, didn't have It Gets Better, didn't have the Trevor Project, didn't have all these resources, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to stop people from killing themselves. Kids, children. There's 8, 9, 10-year-olds that are killing themselves because they're being bullied. I don't know if they're gay, lesbian, transgender, but they're being called those names. They're being stigmatized. And then some people are doing that. But some people are killing themselves after coming out because they're so ridiculed, judged, criticized, whatever. That's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to stop people from killing themselves. Because, and just so that they can love and be loved for who they are. Whether you don't agree with it, whether they're a man and they're with a man, they're a woman, they're with a woman, whether they were born a male but they truly feel like they are female, if you don't understand it, don't speak on it. Don't speak on it. It's not your story to tell. People make fun of the words hurt, things like that. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That is so wrong. That's so untrue. Broken bones will heal, but words will stick to you forever. I still remember just a lot of things that have been told to me, and they are like scars. I mean, that's part of my calluses. But not everybody copes the same way that you do. Not every one of us that went to Iraq came back, with PTSD. People cope differently. Just like people can take criticism, heartache, things like that different. Some people are just more vulnerable, and they are apt to do something on impulse just to get rid of the pain. That's what we're trying to stop. That's really what we're trying to stop. That's all we want to happen. That's what the gay agenda. We want people to be happy and to stop killing themselves. Nothing else. Not trying to get you to change your belief systems, not trying to get you to accept it, but I am going to ask that if you mean something to me, then you will tolerate it. I mean, that's if you can't, go on. It's fine. No big deal. Love you just the same. We don't have to be a part of each other's lives. So then the next thing that kind of comes up is straight pride. Here's my thoughts about straight pride. One, I see a lot of people saying, well, when's there going to be a straight pride? Well, if you feel that passionate about it, why don't you start it? Stop waiting for somebody else to do it. But here's the bigger picture is that straight pride is something that be thankful that you don't have to have it. If you want to have straight pride, have pride every day, knowing that you can walk down the hallway, down the street, in the grocery store, and hold your spouse, your partner's hand without fear. Without fear that somebody is going to come up and make fun of you, criticize you, attack you, or hurt you really bad. That is what you need to have pride in. You can have pride in that every day. You can also take pride that more than likely you're not going to be killed because of your sexual identity or because of your gender identity when it comes to this. There's been numerous amounts of people that are killed just because they identify as LGBTQ+. And that's not okay. That somebody thinks that it's okay just because this person is gay or whatever, that it's okay for them to die. Take pride knowing that that's probably not going to happen to you. And, take pride in knowing that you can walk around and put pictures up on your office. Me and a friend of mine was talking the other day, and we were talking about somebody else in the office's pictures of their family up. And me and her were talking, and she said, one time I remember having that thought that Man, it'd be nice if I could put my family's picture up in my office. We can't. Take pride that you don't have to think about things like that. And be thankful that you're not going to be fired or terminated from your employer because of that. That's big enough right there. And I guess I'm done rambling, but I would say this: if there's somebody that does watch this and somebody that is scared, listen, it's taken me a long time to love who I am. I did not come out of the closet early. I was probably 30, and that's only having a tiptoe out of it. And every time I got a little bit further from it, I tried to run back to it. So this is a live video, so I've probably just blew my closet up and it doesn't exist anymore, so there's no hiding anymore. But honestly, I don't care anymore. I don't care. I'm trying to be happy. I've been married for a few years, and it's a shame that we can't express ourselves just like other people do. Not that I'd be out holding hands and stuff like that. I'm not a big public display of affection kind of person. So, but that's just kind of my point, is that having the ability to do so. But if somebody is watching this, I just want them to know that it gets better. I can't tell you when it's going to get better. And I'm not going to tell you that sometimes it's not going to be easier or that it's going to be harder. But all I do know is that it gets better. In the last few years, I can say that I finally learned to love myself. And that means the world to me. That right there is what means the world to me, is that I have learned to love myself without worrying about other people. Because one thing that I learned a long time ago is that, and I didn't learn how to apply it till recently, but if you have an opinion on this matter, that's great. Keep it. Don't change it. That's your right. But if you're going to tell me something, I'm one of those, if you're not paying my bills, I'm really not going to pay you no mind. So if you want to express opinion in my life or tell me how to live my life, I'll give you my address and I'll let you send me a check and I'll apply it to my electric bill. But other than that, I'm really not worried about it. But there's somebody else out there that may need this, and they may need to know that they are loved. We've got our own problems in the LGBTQ community with judging each other and criticizing each other, and I know that doesn't help our fight with other things. But you do have a community of people that will back you and that love you, and and that right there means the world. But I hope that you can love each other and care enough about each other that you can stop criticizing and stigmatizing and just learn a little tolerance. You don't have to accept it. Because I tell you, one of the things that hurts me the worst is when, somebody comes up to me that's supposedly important in my life, and the very first thing that they say is, well, I don't agree with it. I don't care. Other people don't. Just, again, best thoughts sometimes best left unsaid. But anyway, that's really all I got to say. I hope that kind of clarifies that, that's just my story. I can't speak for anybody else. That's mine. You'll never convince me that God doesn't love me and that I can't be Christian and gay. That's my opinion. And, if somebody is watching that, just your relationship between you and your higher power is just that. That's all it is. Don't let other people convince you otherwise. That doesn't mean don't pray about it. That doesn't mean don't think about it. That doesn't mean try to be the best person that you can be. But your relationship with God is your relationship with God. That's it. Nobody else gets to tell me any of that. But I hope that helps, and I hope it clarifies. We're not trying to take the gay rainbow flag has nothing to do with, removing God's promise. I mean, the flag represents a lot of different things, But I want people to tolerate each other and learn how to love each other. And don't put us in the categories of hate groups and people who are trying to hurt other people, because that is not who we are. Love you. Bye.